there, fellow collectors, Shuki here with a review of the Kamen Rider Build, DX Sclash Driver. So, Sclash is one of those weird words that Japan likes to make up. That's just a combination of like 2 or 3 other words all smushed together. I'm thinking like clash and squash and squish and all that, because it's a basically it's a compressor. It's like a trash compactor that squeezes the little jelly. And for those unfamiliar, Japan loves stuff like this. Japan has a lot of drinks, and though the jellies is more of like a kind of a yogurt-esque consistency from what I understand, but they have a lot of drinks and such in pouches and stuff like that. So think Capri Sun or like Go-Gurt or those little child like applesauces or something like that. Japan loves those. And so while we have bottles in the normal build driver, our secondary driver has these little jellies. And so it's a nice little kind of juxtaposition of different sort of containers, and I dig that a lot. This was released in December 2017, very, very late. It was like Christmas Day almost, for about 6,000 yen or so, give or take, depending on when and where you picked it up. So this driver includes the Dragon, as you just saw, and the Robot Sclashjellies. So the Dragon one turns Ryuga into Cross-Charge, and then the Robot Sclashjelly turns a user, I don't want to spoil it for those that aren't caught up in the show, into Kamen Rider Grease. Really cool. I dig these 2 designs a lot. One's gold, one's silver. I love the whole crystallus kind of look of Cross-Charge's jelly thing, and it's just really cool. So let's get it open and take a look, even though the toy's already out of the box and I've been playing with it for about a week, but hey! Alright, so here is the Sclash driver itself. It's really cool. I dig this design a lot. I think it's on right now. No, it's off. Cool, I was actually prepared. So you got the little lever, little wrench sort of thing that kind of compacts the jelly. You got the tube up here that fills up when you squish it, and all that fun stuff. Here is the belt. Obviously, this is the smallest setting possible. But nothing too crazy. I believe it's the same belt as the Ghost driver, which is the same belt as the Build driver, and except it's done in like a very dark blue and silver sort of color. So no one really cares. I'm never going to wear these. I physically can't. But here we are with the Sclash driver, and it does stay together very nicely on the table. So there we go. That's about it for this thing, so we're just going to set that aside. I want to take a look at the actual jellies. So here's the Dragon Sclashjelly, Cross-Charge's jelly in particular, and I've gotten a lot of questions on these on how durable I think they are, and I feel they're going to hold up. The plastic that's surrounding inside here is basically like, you can kind of, like, it's just a sponge, basically. And it's very therapeutic to squeeze. It's like a little stress ball Kamen Rider toy, give or take. I think the only thing that's going to be a downside of these is that this plastic does crease quite a bit. You can kind of see several bumps along the edge right here of where I've been like just squeezing it in my spare time and then playing with it in the Sclash driver. So this will crease a lot. I don't think it's going to break or anything like that. I feel like this is pretty secure. It's definitely secure up here where it's screwed in. And then back here, you even have a bunch of like fake like nutrition information, and you actually have Sad Pac-Man back here telling you not to eat the contents of this. And this is Taberu Masen. Just don't eat. Just don't eat this. It's like it's telling you twice not to eat this. But there is the QR code, which I don't think it's the same QR code as this one, but they're both 29. And as you can see right from here, they both have the same rail system. So you could actually just insert the Dragon Fullbottle into the Sclash driver and get the same sounds. The same thing applies with the Robot, and I'll show that off in a second. So that is definitely a little bit of a bummer. I wish they were a smidge different in some fashion, but hey, it's whatever. But the design on the front is cool. The top still rotates, but Obviously, there's no shaking or anything like this, but now there's squeezing. So there's a whole other different activity you can do with these. But very cool. Like I said, I don't think it's gonna break open or anything like that. It seems very, very durable to me. So I think as long as you don't like tote it around with you everywhere and just constantly go like an actual stress ball like all day long, I think you're probably gonna be okay. So there's that. And there is the robot one, which probably looks quite a bit better because I haven't actually squeezed the robot one a whole lot. The dragon one was sitting on my desk. Black cap. For this one, you got the same robot character that's on the actual robot Fullbottle, which I think is a nice little consistency there. And like I said before, both of these are 28 in the QR codes, and the rails there are exactly the same. So nothing too crazy to report there. With the build driver, yeah, calm down. It will fit in the rail, but there's no clearance on either side for the actual jelly to fit in the build driver. So like the rail is the same. The rail will work, but you can't fit it in because of how thick the jelly part is. So I'm sure someone was going to ask that as well. So let's go ahead and turn on the Sclash Driver. The on-off switch is right down there. This does take 3 AAA batteries that you just put in right there. So let's turn this on. It's a very angry driver. But let's go ahead and do a cross charge first. So I guess we'll just spin the cap since we can't shake these ones. And you just press down on this. I love the brrrr. I love that so much. It's a very gruff driver. I dig that a lot. So now we are cross charge, and there's one attack function in this. If we go ahead and pull this down again, I'm going to demonstrate that you don't actually have to pull it down all that much to activate the sound. So for those that like, oh, I don't want to squish the jelly all the way, you don't really have to. You only have to pull it down just a smidge. It's more or less just dramatic effect. So there we go with that. Pull that out. Go ahead and do the robot. So fun. So pretty cool. This does have some minor functionality with the full bottles. Like I said, if you put in the Dragon Fullbottle, it still recognizes it. And robot. There we go. So obviously we can't use these to test out the full bottle compatibility. There's also one other transformation in here for the crocodile, and we will get to that when that toy releases. I think that's a March release. I think, somewhere around there. So we'll check that out once that actually comes out. But for now, we'll just leave that alone. So I brought in Phoenix and Locke because I figured what better things to demonstrate than the best matches of the two jellies, so to speak. So if you put in a organic material in there, it will do a charge bottle. If you put in a inorganic material, it'll do a discharge bottle. So it doesn't actually read any of these, but it's programmed for the certain rails to activate the two sounds. So while it can read them, there's just no difference, which is totally a bummer. I wish this was like a mock driver situation where it actually read the other things and said different things for these, but unfortunately it does not. So we're stuck with a beast driver sort of situation where it uses a completely different gimmick that can't be used with the old thing, but can only be used with the new thing. And it's not that different, and it's very incompatible with everything, and it kind of stinks in that regard. So it'll do Charge Crush as the final attack for that. And the other.
Discharge Bottle. Discharge Crush.
And if you notice, the organic one was red for rabbit, and the inorganic one was blue for tank. So that's pretty cool. In the show, these do different things. In Grease, used the helicopter Fullbottle, which isn't out yet, to fly. So these all would theoretically do different things in the show, but the sound's always just going to be generic. And that sound that plays right before is basically just saying that, like, it's uncrushed, because it's a bottle and the compactor doesn't actually, like, close that much. So there you go. That's actually it for this thing. Like I said, very simple. We'll have a little bit more functionality once the Crocodile Crack Fullbottle comes out. But until then, that's really about the sounds for this thing. It is a very, very minimal sort of driver. So unless we get a jelly with electronics in it in the future, I think that's really about all it's going to write for the Sclash driver. So hopefully some cool things come out on the horizon, but otherwise this is sort of a one and done rider belt, which has happened in the past. Like I said, Beasts was a system where it used rings, but they used different rings and it can only read those specific rings, and so it's a little bit of a bummer in that regard. And I do hope we get a little bit more of the Sclashjellies, even if they don't make sounds, just because I kind of think they're neat. But it's just a shame that we're going to have like a little mini gimmick inside the gimmick that's just not that robust. But overall, I do like it. I like the sounds. I like the concept of the jellies. I just wish it did a little bit more. But that about does it for this review. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And of course, as always, thanks for watching. Take care and have a great one. Bye.